William Zinsser's On Writing Well, the classic guide to writing nonfiction, is intended to be an all-purpose guide for writers of nonfiction literature, but its lessons are valuable to writing of any kind. In this video, I'll be sharing 5 pieces of advice that you can use to improve your writing immediately from William Zinsser's On Writing Well, the classic guide to writing nonfiction. William Zinsser spent his life studying the craft of writing. He wrote On Writing Well in 1975 on a typewriter and has updated it a number of times since then, most recently in 2006. This video will summarize what I thought were the most striking lessons for general purpose non-literature writing, and then talk a bit about why I think these lessons are still valuable today. Here are 5 cornerstones of writing I pulled from Zinsser's book, and they make for pretty good general life advice too. Start by saying exactly what you mean to say, simply, clearly, and in your own words. Take as much time as you need to edit and get things right. Focus on what you enjoy and go where the moment takes you. Find your voice. Choose your words carefully. 1. Start by saying exactly what you mean to say, simply, clearly, and in your own words. Writing can be divided into the technical side and the artistic side. The core of the technical side of writing is saying what you intend to say in a way that delivers the correct amount of detail and can't be misunderstood. Write simply and with clarity to get the message across. Staring at a blank piece of paper and imagining the final product you need to wind up with, whether that's an essay or a letter or an email, and envisioning how all of your well-made points are going to flow from one to another logically, sequentially, and beautifully, that can be very intimidating, and that's where I think this piece of advice really shines. You don't need to start by writing that beautiful flowing piece all at once. You can start by just writing down whatever you think is important to say. Once you lay that foundation, you can move on to making it beautiful, which brings us to the next point. 2. Take as much time as you need to edit and get things right. Zinsser says, editing is everything. This is the craft. This is the work. This is how you produce work. Editing is the very first section of the book, a choice that I'm sure was deliberate in order to highlight its importance. Zinsser says, rewriting is the essence of writing. Rewriting is the most important step in writing. Writing is a process, not a product. As a writer, you should consider yourself lucky that you get endless attempts to improve your work. The focal points of editing are clarity and word choice. The secret of good writing is to strip every sentence down to its cleanest components. Ruthlessly cut out whatever doesn't add anything new or need to be there. You want to create a sentence that says only exactly what you want it to and then refine it. Similarly, don't be afraid to do more research on your topic of choice to make sure you get the details right, as long as that doesn't stop you from eventually getting around to the actual writing. Zinsser's editing tip is, after you write a bit, take a break and come back later after your subconscious mind has done some processing. It is extremely powerful. 3. Focus on what you enjoy and go where the moment takes you. On the writing process, Zinsser advises writing in whatever direction feels correct and fulfilling in the moment. You can rectify things later. It's a good thing for your work to take on a life of its own. Don't fight that, embrace it. It doesn't matter what you write, as long as it works. The best subject to write about is the one you enjoy writing about. A good way to write interesting things is to just write whatever you enjoy writing. Write something that makes you laugh, write something that makes you think. Zinsser guarantees there will be an audience out there that appreciates it just as you do. 4. Find your voice. The writer's job is to write things that people want to read. If you're writing to entertain, people want to read because they enjoy it. If you're writing to inform, people want to read because it provides them the information they seek. But you usually need a little dose of each in order to do the job effectively. The first goal of writing is to be interesting. 2 sentences can convey the same literal meaning, but one can be written in a way that's much more captivating and entertaining. Finding your voice is essential to the artistic component of writing. It's about saying something unique because you are the only person who could have said it. People will want to read your work as long as it is interesting, and you can make it interesting by making it personal. You have to write authentically. Because they are so important, your credibility and authenticity need to be protected at all costs. There will always be an audience for work that is written with personality and humanity, and for that reason, I don't think Zinsser would be too concerned about AI replacing true writers, but we'll talk more about that later. Great writers can make boring topics interesting to read about. They write with style instead of writing an encyclopedia entry. The mental sound of a sentence is important. Never write what you wouldn't say in conversation. If you start by just writing the simplest version of whatever you want to say and get your points across in a clear, concise manner, there will be plenty of time to add artistry and flourish later. Often you'll find that you don't need much of it. 5. Choose your words carefully. For every single word you decide to write, there are plenty of words that are good or sufficient, and maybe one or two that are perfect. But sometimes there will not be any that are perfect. A great way to screw up your writing is to overload it with jargon, euphemisms, and business lingo. They don't add any sense of legitimacy to what you're writing. All they do is detach the reader from what you are saying. This can be a deliberate and purposeful choice if your goal is to actually lessen the impact or deflect from the message of what you are saying. Inadvertent collateral damage occurred during completion of the mission. Just doesn't quite connect the same way as, our bombing attack accidentally killed some innocent civilians, but it was totally worth it. If that's not your goal, then say what you mean to say as simply as possible, but no simpler. You also want to write in a way that is readable. Legal documents and scholarly articles serve a useful and distinct purpose, but the average reader often can't read all that and probably doesn't want to anyways. There's a balance to be found here for every purpose. Think very carefully about the level of detail you want to include. Every piece of writing is strong in proportion to the surplus of details you can choose to exclude in favor of the few that really make the piece. Simplicity is king. You want to reduce the piece to only what is necessary to the fullest extent possible. The details are important. They need to be well chosen and correct. Credibility and accuracy are crucial for connecting with the discerning reader. Getting better at writing. If you want to get better at writing, just practice. Luckily, writing is a skill that can be learned and infinitely improved upon. Zinsser recommends immersing yourself and reading everything from the striking and inspirational to the mundane and banal. Inspiration can come from literally anywhere. Imitation is a fine way to learn new things, writing included. It's okay to start by just writing in the same style as other writers you enjoy. Keep at it for a while, and before long you'll develop a style all your own. Focus on learning the process, not the results. Too much emphasis in writing is placed on the final product and the notoriety the final product gets. We are too focused on external rewards as a culture to our detriment. Learn the process and those things will follow. But it doesn't matter if they do, and you shouldn't be focused on it. Why bother getting better at writing? Writing is a valuable skill for almost everyone. These concepts apply to a wedding toast or a eulogy, an obituary, an appeal to your boss about why you deserve a raise or promotion, an appeal to the HOA about why they shouldn't fine you over whatever silly thing they're upset about now, or a simple email to colleagues explaining what needs to be done and why. You can even use it to argue on the internet. Basically, we almost all benefit from being better at writing. Bad writing stands out. It signifies that the author didn't care enough to get simple writing concepts correct, the author isn't smart enough to understand basic communication, the author might not actually be saying what they think they're saying. But why bother with all this when we can just use AI instead? I wish Zinsser were alive today to comment on the use of AI in writing, because I'm sure he'd have some fantastic points. Though from what I've read in this book, I have a pretty good idea what he'd probably think about it. Individuality and humanity are what make good writing good. That's not replaceable by AI, at least not yet, anyways. The Atlantic recently published a great article describing at a slightly more technical level why AI hasn't learned how to write compelling material yet. As summarized, most people are bad writers. Most written material is written poorly. The source material for AI to train on is mostly junk, so AI only learns how to produce junk. The badly written AI junk that proliferates the internet is now serving as a primary source material for AI to learn from. It is a synergistic downward spiral. Attempts to train AI on better written material have so far been unsuccessful, like an untrained amateur stealing from great writers without having any understanding of why they are great. AI has no lived experience to draw from, only data and algorithmic predictions. It has no sense of style and can't produce intelligent original work because it is both bound by rules and also does not understand when or how to effectively break those rules. Of course, these statements are true at the time of writing, but may not always be. At a more practical level, anyone can type a prompt into AI, so if you ever want to be of any use to anyone, you need to learn how to provide value beyond what anyone else can achieve by typing the same prompt into AI that you would type. If you want to continue to be employed in life doing anything other than manual labor, you need to find ways to do this. If your writing is identical to everyone else who put the same question into the same chat box as you, there isn't going to be any way to make yourself stand out. Excelling at writing isn't all that difficult, and it's an easy way to stand out from the crowd. On a personal level, I for one still enjoy actually doing things. Writing is challenging enough to be interesting and useful enough that it's still worth learning how to be good at. I believe learning to write helps you learn how to think on your feet in general and express your individuality. Writing is an extension of thinking. It's thought in written form. It's impossible for a muddy thinker to write good English. Therefore, a writer's first task is to think well. And for your family's sake, I sincerely hope you won't leave their wedding toast or eulogy to be written by AI, but of course that's your decision to make. Since starting this book, I've caught myself writing better from time to time, removing an unnecessary phrase here or substituting in more accurate words there. While I have no aspirations of ever writing as colorfully or movingly as the many wonderful excerpts highlighted by the book, there are some nice practical lessons, and I think you'll find them valuable too. Zinsser does have his fair share of detractors and critics. He's a bit fanatical in his devotion to the beauty of the written word in a way that can sometimes alienate the more casual reader or writer. On a few occasions, I actually thought his examples of bad writing were more readable and enjoyable than his examples of good writing, which is a reminder that it's impossible to please everyone. In general, I've found that when someone has devoted their entire life to a single area of study, it's generally worth listening to what they have to say, even if you don't always agree with it. If you like Zinsser's advice, you should use it. If not, forget about it and move on. There is a lot more to be found in this book. I particularly enjoyed the examples Zinsser provided of how he edited this exact book during his writing process. There are some fantastic examples of what Zinsser considers good and bad writing. He includes an excerpt about chicken coops that somehow manages to be interesting, and excerpts from Michael Arlen's Living Room Ward, written during and about the Vietnam War, which I'm very glad to have discovered. Zinsser writes about writing with a true passion, one that is enjoyable to read even if he gets a bit excessive with it at times, and there are some great examples of writing as a metaphor for life in general. My favorite of these is, a good editor likes nothing more than a piece of copy he hardly has to touch. A bad editor has a compulsion to tinker, proving with busy work he hasn't forgotten the minutiae of grammar and usage. There are a lot of people who go through life as bad editors, micromanaging and exercising excessive power without prudence or reason, simply for the sake of doing so. Don't be a bad editor. If you want to read some of Zinsser's work free of cost or commitment, you can check out the archive of his web column in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider buying On Writing Well, the classic guide to writing nonfiction by William Zinsser. Thank you for watching.